Tuning in to the online broadcast network, AFTERBUZZ TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your number one source for after-show entertainment. AFTERBUZZ TV, the destination for TV superfans. Producing aftershows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows, interviewing celebrities and showrunners, and bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
The sound of our new home.
Yes, our new home.
That was weird.
It was weird, but it fit perfectly with the episode. And that is episode 11. Episode 11 of season 3. Was it Of a Demon in My View?
Cool.
Yes. Now we're getting closer and closer to the final.
Yeah.
The season finale. But before we get there, I have to introduce ourselves.
Yeah.
Who are you?
I'm Jesse Klein. You can find me on Twitter at JessKlein1. That's JessKlein, the number 1.
Always number 1 to me, Jesse. Always number 1.
Number 1.
And I'm Scott Moore, and you can find me on Twitter at SMan80. That's SMAN80. You can find us on the YouTube and SoundCloud and iTunes, and subscribe, and definitely, rate us, give us some good comments, and we definitely love to hear from you.
Always number 80 to me, Scott.
I'm always number 80. Yes, it's true. I'm number 80 to pretty much everybody. But yeah, so we love to hear from you guys, and you can keep the conversation going on Twitter with hashtag ABTVDefiance. Definitely love hearing from everybody, especially because when we walk out here from watching the show, it's always good to hear from
it's nice to interact with the viewers on YouTube or on Twitter, any of those things. It's cool.
Because we occasionally, we miss things. I know we look perfect, but occasionally we do miss things. So
we'll miss a thing or two.
Exactly, so it's always good to hear from the people out there.
Yeah.
And I'd love to be able to say that our engineer in training today. I have to give a shout out to Zach.
That's Zach Wilson on
Zach
Twitter.
Wilson, exactly. You may have seen him on such fine AfterBuzz programming here as well, so we're happy that he's helping out.
Sure.
BTS today.
That's got to be Steven.
That was definitely a Steven there. But we open with this episode, and I really did enjoy the opening here with the Badlands.
Yeah.
The post-apocalyptic
Oklahoma City.
OKC.
Yeah. The tropical OKC.
Yes, it was like the tropical OKC.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a really cool intro there. It was sort of that post-apocalyptic tropical OKC with all the bodies everywhere and the debris and the destruction.
Yeah, I think this episode really kind of kept on the theme we keep on talking about, where it just felt dangerous this entire episode.
Right.
Even in parts that weren't featuring the main dangerous component, like I was like, is something bad gonna happen here? Like I felt like almost constantly that there was a possibility of something going terribly wrong.
I felt scared.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna put it out there. I felt scared. I didn't know what was gonna happen.
Yeah.
But I did love that intro. Of course, it was very convenient that Berlin just happened to just be moseying on down I-64 and happened to be there just in time.
I like seeing her back again. I think she's an interesting character. I think there's got to be more than she just. I mean, maybe there isn't enough time to get into it, but there's got to be more than she was like, I decided to come back, so I did. Like, I feel like something had to happen.
Something definitely happened with her and Conrad.
Yeah, but it's nice to see her again. It's nice to see the odd couple of her and Arissa back together because of all that tension through their previous relationship. And like Arissa saying, thanks for not just walking away, and Berlin saying, like, you mean again? Thanks for not walking away again.
Exactly.
Arissa's like, that's what I meant.
Yeah, because it was very awkward there.
Yeah.
at the beginning with when they're reunited, as it were.
That and the whole thing. It's like Nolan killed that emissary. Well, he wasn't in his right mind. Oh, see, it runs in the family. Like Berlin's still being salty.
Yeah, she's got a little salty mouth on her.
Yeah, she's salty.
A little sassy. A little salty, a little sassy.
Yeah. But I missed her. I'm glad she's back.
Yeah, and
I think she's a good character.
And I know you had called it out there a couple episodes ago that we'd see her back pretty soon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just feel it was such a weird way to leave a character. Like if that was the last we saw of her,
right?
It would be such a weird, like just like not a very satisfying way for a character to leave a show.
It wouldn't be good closure. And I agree with you. I think she was going to come back. I wasn't, again, not expecting it in this way or necessarily this quickly, but
yeah,
it was good to have her back. And again, I always love when we can kind of get out of the Defiance town from that world, so it's always good to kind of see some other areas. And so I even enjoyed that little glimpse that we saw
of tropical Oklahoma City.
OKC, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I love the little mini flashback that they did too, and I thought that was great. And speaking of the tropical thing, it made me laugh when Nolan was kind of sucked up like a twister. You know, it was just when it went up. But I love that little mini flashback. I loved the whole scene, how it played out. Again, what I've loved about this season is the fact that they've done these action scenes, and they're really pretty decently choreographed, and they're really, there's a lot that goes into them.
Well, I mean, that action scene was mostly just Nolan and Arissa in the truck, and just hearing the yells of the VC as they're being destroyed by Kenzie.
But I really, really enjoyed it. I thought it was a lot of fun, and again, like what you're saying, what has been a constant theme is that always that kind of that feeling of danger around every corner.
Yeah.
And then I enjoyed the scenes with the TARS a lot. I
thought the TARS had a really interesting arc this episode. They're waiting for Tevgen because he has promised Stama that he will protect her and her family, and that they're sitting there like armed to the teeth waiting for Tevgen
and playing. I was trying to figure out what card game they were playing.
I have no idea.
I know. I was like, is there some Castathan card game? Was it poker? But it didn't look like poker.
It's probably just Magic the Gathering.
Yeah. See, I always think about these stupid things. Like when they're talking about the coffee, I'm like, was it Dunkin's or Starbucks? And then like with the card game, like, what cards were they playing? I want to know these things.
But yeah, I thought that was really like the whole like Stama saying like I don't love Tevgen. Yeah. Like he took care of me when I needed him to.
At that moment, and I love when she's like, "But he'll show up. He's an honorable and decent man." And I loved his little comeback. Like, oh well, since when has that been?
Since when is that someone you've been interested in?
Yeah, something you're interested in. Yeah. I'm like, yeah, good one. Good one, Daytak.
And also the reminder that Daytak still has his god arm.
Yes.
Just the idea that their relationship is kind of like it was a reset for their relationship. I think
exactly.
I think it was letting us know that like the relationship is now back to where it was before.
And they needed that because they've had so much tension throughout this season, and we kind of needed to have these kind of quiet moments with them so that we could have that reset.
Yeah.
And the fact that they brought up the bio arm, even though they didn't make it hugely obvious.
Yeah.
This episode or whatever, it was good to know that it was still there too, because it's kind of easy for you to forget about those type of things as a viewer, and then as the overall arc for a show series. So that was good. I definitely I enjoyed those moments. I think they're fun.
Yeah, and then Daytak brings his gang in.
Yeah.
And we see that the gang isn't as loyal as it used to be. Apparently, after you just kill all of the members of your gang and then start a new gang, they're not so loyal as they should be because they know you murder your gang members.
You murder your own people, I know. Yeah. Surprising, I know, right? I mean, not to be as loyal. But yeah, it was still funny that he still has his own little gang there.
And also, like, it's a full-on... Like, everyone knew that Stama and Daytak were kind of backstabbers and treacherous, but now the entire town has labeled them traitors.
Right.
Like they have the label of traitors, so they're less likely to be trusted than ever before.
Exactly.
And I think that's a really interesting moment where it's like if worst comes to worst, like, we're not going to die to protect your family. Like, we're just gonna leave.
Right.
Like, your money's good enough for us to intimidate people with guns, but we're not gonna die.
Yeah, we're not gonna die for you. And then that's the difference, which is, you know, I know that Alak is there and the grandson's there, but it does make it seem like, what do they have really holding their ties to Defiance after everything they've been through? I mean, I know we've seen some glimpses of Stama saying this is her home, and she's made a place there, but at the same time, it's like, if everyone's shunning you and you're thought of as a traitor, and it's like, really, why stick around? Like, I know it's a show, and I get, like, there's certain protocol, there's certain reasons, but it's like, if you're looking at, like, why even bother? Like, I think start a new life.
I think a bit of it. I think Daytak is too proud to leave. I think, you know, he came to this town planning to make a living and, like, have his house be honored in this town. He wanted to be mayor. I mean, he definitely wants to have the power and the control there. And exactly. So I think that it might be a little bit of pride for Daytak, and I think in that pride is also a fierce allegiance to, if not the people of the town, but the town itself and, like, the community that town represents. I think they would have trouble starting in a new place. I think this is definitely their home, and I think because his family was attacked, Daytak turned against Defiance. But I don't think that either of them, if, like, they had the choice, they would defend Defiance more than turn against it.
Right. I definitely agree with that. They would definitely defend it if they came down to it. It's just it's interesting to see how much they've put up with, in the sense that they would even bother sticking around or even wanting to do anything with the town at that point, when nobody seems to give a flying fig about them, I guess, without cussing there with a, you know, like, really, they don't care. Yeah. So it was interesting to me when I was watching that particular scene, thinking about that. Yeah.
And then Andina had some good moments in this one. Like, she had some, like, they've kind of been teasing her as, like, a newer character with more lines, and, like, and she had some really good moments in this episode. Number one, she gets a gun. Yeah. And
she's growing up.
Well, that's the thing. I was like, oh, maybe she's, like, in love with Alak, and, like, Alak is so angry with his mom and his dad. Like, maybe she's going to, like, try and kill Stama to be like, I did it for you, Damien, all for you, like that kind of thing. Exactly. But instead, it's like you can see she's cast thin as well. She's a schemer. She's trying to, you know, raise her place in their society.
Right. She wants to raise her profile. Although that whole scene with her and Stama was like, ooh, you know, it sort of had that little. I was like, okay, where are we going with this kind of thing for a brief second?
Well, yeah, I thought for sure it might be a moment where she's gonna try and kill Stama, especially with, like, Stama and drinking tea, like, always kind of have.
I know,
like,
that's when I saw it. I was like, okay, what's going on here?
Like, anytime Stama's around and there's tea, I would question whether or not the tea is poisoned.
Right, it's like I would never drink that tea. Yeah, but it was kind of an odd feeling, because it felt a little threatening, but it also had a little bit of sexual undertones in a weird way to me when I was watching it, and then at the same time it was like,
oh, I didn't pick that up at all.
But maybe I just pick up everything as having sexual undertones. Yeah. So I had a little bit of that, but then I also had, like, oh, she wants him to get married, wants her to, you know, marry Alak. It was like, it was a really, like, a lot of stuff was happening in that scene, but it kind of cracked me up. I don't know, maybe if anyone else out there thought of the little bit of undertones there with the whole knitting and.
Yeah, I didn't pick it. I thought it was mostly just like a scheme, like it was like, I scratch your back, you scratch mine, kind of thing.
Definitely saw that, but I felt a little bit of weird tension, but that's just me.
No,
that's just me. Apparently, I don't know. Maybe someone else will have thought the same.
Hey, man, I support you in your finding sexual undertones in everything.
Single thing.
I didn't see it. Yeah. I thought it was mostly just like a scene of, like, seeing how, like, Adina has now become. This she has learned from the best and has become a schemer.
From the master. Well, I did definitely pick on that. She had grown up in the sense when I was watching it. I was like, she's no longer the shy, and she even is clearly ready to move up and has the confidence now and is ready to take her rightful place as a schemer.
Yeah, and I really like that line. that Stama has, where it's like, well, you really have a knack for this. Where it's like, you're not talking about knitting. You are talking about being a schemer.
Being scheming.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a good scene.
And Alak leaves because he's like, the only way to kill an adult Olmec, he's like, the only person who know how to do it is Doc. And he finds Doc with just like blood coming out of her roller.
I know. Oh my god.
And she's like, oh yeah, it's this terrible disease. You should use this vaccine. And like immediately,
the hemorrhagic fever.
Yeah,
which already sounds awful.
It sounds like a bad way to go.
It does for sure.
And then Daytak getting inoculated, and we end it with him like in a cage, being about to be eaten.
Yeah, he was. He gets passed out from that whatever was in that shot.
Yeah,
and now he's just he's food.
We see what the collecting that Doc Yule has been doing for Stama. Yeah,
it was for her stuff that she was doing for Kinsey. But going back to
Kenzie, not Stama.
Going back to
Sorry.
Kenzie, when that whole scene with her when she has Tevkin. And it's like the little cheesy music, and it's like crazy mad science lab, and all the things bubbling, and it's like, oh my god, this is so funny. But I was totally loving it.
Well, yeah, the thing with Nolan,
her maniacal asylum there.
Well, the thing with Nolan, where she's like, she wants the Arctech out of Nolan's brain, and Doc Yule's like, it could kill her, and she's like, it doesn't matter, I can't have my pet be like flawed in any way, and Doc asks to speak freely, and he's like, you sicken me, you're gross.
Exactly.
Like, she's like, I have a high tolerance for like cruelty, and this is too much.
Yeah, she's like, and you have a screw loose in that head of yours. And also, I love the fact when she was like, oh, that's not really my gender.
Yeah,
that was
also really funny.
Doc Yule always has the best lines.
She really does.
God, I love her.
And Kenzie apparently successfully does some surgery.
Her own brain surgery. Yeah.
I was like, that would be a really weird way for Nolan to die if it was just complications during surgery.
I know. Like, how depressing is that?
I was never like worried about it because I was like, there's no way that's how he's going to die in this series. Like, if it was complications on the
on the operating table from a drone surgery,
just it'd be very weird.
I wasn't expecting it to necessarily be successful, though. I thought maybe there was going to be some issues, and when Arissa feels it and then she doesn't anymore, I was like, okay. I was a little surprised by that because I didn't think it was going to necessarily work.
Yeah, I think it was mostly they needed it to kind of not have the thing where it's like they have to be within a certain amount of distance. Like the writers just needed to write that out.
Exactly.
Like they used it when they needed it, and now they need to write that piece out. Yeah,
and that was an easier way to do it to move on from that. Yeah,
especially since after Doc Yule had said she couldn't do it, it was like just have Kenzie do it. And then we see that Kenzie is draining blood from Tevkin to keep him weak. And it looks like she's putting that blood into like a clone body of an Indigene.
Yeah, that's what was kind of like. It was kind of that maniacal mad science lab thing there, because you saw that and you saw the clone sitting there with that. Yeah, it was, a little cheesy, a little bit there, but I still, it was fun.
I mean, I thought it was like the makeup department did a really good job of not only making an alien look alien, but then making that alien look like a sick alien. Yeah, like they really did a good job of making Tevkin look weaker than he had for the rest of the series.
No, I thought that was great, and I also think her makeup's great too, because I was thinking of the moments with her and Nolan too. I was like, that's a lot of makeup, a lot of time that goes into that, and also. The fact that it all kind of stayed in place. Yeah. And, because you do see that a lot of times, too, especially with the TARS, and you see their scenes when they're in their house and how it's all caked on. And, it's hard. It's definitely a lot of work. And as we had talked to Billy a couple weeks ago on that phone call about how long it really goes to take to get them all ready.
That's crazy.
And everything. It is. That's a lot. So definitely, I do notice those things too when I'm watching, especially these type of shows and those type of scenes. But for sure, absolutely.
And Nolan wakes up, and Kenzie Fawn just lies to him, and then Kenzie rapes him.
Yeah, For all intents and purposes, she certainly did. You know?
He
But
he was not in a place to say no.
That's right. That's right.
And he was drugged, and afterwards, Nolan's kind of getting smart to the lies that Kenzie's throwing at him. And he's like, I'm going to make a grilled cheese sandwich.
I know, she's like, I could make us some pancakes.
Yeah, I love that callback joke.
Yeah, I did too. And then I'm like, where's the Defiance cookbook from season 3? I know. I want to see the pancakes. I want to see this mean grilled cheese.
Where's her griddle? Where,
right.
Like, she's got her indigene clone machine, and then right next to it, a griddle with Bisquick pancake mix.
Right?
Yeah. Fresh blueberries.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
Mac always has to be prepared for the morning after.
Yeah. But yeah, and then it turns into him being a slave to just him becoming food.
Right.
Like, like she chains him up and is like, you could have been the highest level of slave.
Yeah, she was like, you disappointed me.
Yeah.
Although it was a little bit hot, I have to say. Again, I'm having the sexual undertones, but when he was in the chains and she's like, oh, you disappointed me, it was like just punishing him.
No, I felt like as soon as she was like, you would have been the highest level of slave, I was like, that's a kind of like a terrible position. Like, that's
how's that?
Like the best slave.
The best slave is the best thing for him, yeah. And then he was just brought right back down to food. Yeah, back down to food. That knife that gets brought back. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I thought Kenzie's entire like she's full on crazy. Like, and when Nolan gets the backstory, when Nolan breaks free and gets the backstory on how, like, basically Tevgen kept her spirits going when they were off in space searching for home.
Right.
The only way that he could keep her spirits up was by promising her vengeance against the VC and the people who had done her wrong, and promising her like this great dread harvest. Like, we kind of see that for, decades, Kenzie has been like promised these amazing like feats of vengeance, and like Nolan and Tevgen kind of have like a dad moment where both of them did that with their respective daughters.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we see how it really wasn't a healthy thing to do, obviously, all that time to Kenzie, because it's turned her into this.
She's just bloodthirsty.
It is, but it also kind of made me realize a little bit more of the backstory of the Omek of this whole time. We were thinking they were so terrible, but maybe not. They weren't necessarily. It's like sort of how they were trained, but you see how Tevgen maybe wasn't the bad guy all along. Like, it filled it in for me, because in a way I was kind of feeling like he made this huge change when he was on Earth, but maybe he wasn't necessarily...
I mean, I still think that the Omek are things that eat other sentient beings.
I agree, but I still saw that side of him on the spacecraft that I thought, okay, was sort of that glimpse to me, because like my big issue I was having was how quickly he turned. On Earth, and that maybe that I saw a little bit more of that personality of being like, it's not so unrealistic now, because he's sort of always had it there.
Yeah, and I think
the leader, the clear thinker.
Yeah, and I think that having your homeland taken away from you, if you're a war hero like Tevgen is, like, I think it probably changes you.
Yeah,
and as we see in the climactic fight with Kenzie, like, he still does not want her to die. Like, he's given her so many chances.
Yeah, exactly. And he was still right there.
Too many.
Open to forgiving her and being like, oh, it's forgiven, great, again, being so open and caring towards her. Yeah. She
straight up stabs him right in the neck. Yeah.
Which, again, something else I was not expecting.
I kind of, as the episode was going, I kind of was like, oh, either Tevgen or Kenzie is going to die in this episode.
I thought somebody was by the end of this episode, but I wasn't expecting it to necessarily happen that way.
Yeah.
And then you see, when she does it, she realizes, oh, crap, like,
by the way, that's
crazy.
That's Arissa's fault, because she spent her entire clip firing at Kenzie from like across a 100-foot like thing. Like, number one, missing wide enough that she could have hit Nolan. Like there were a couple of those shots that looked like they could have hit Nolan.
Easily.
Like that's that's on Arissa. Arissa should not have.
She should have. I know she's gone the complete opposite direction now, from like not wanting to fight or kill anyone to all of a sudden now like, just free shooting at anything.
Yeah, just get closer to shoot her, Arissa. Like you shot all of your entire clip, did not have any other ammo, and
she was like shoot happy now. She's gone the complete opposite from where she was earlier this season.
We still got a pretty awesome moment for Tevgen where Nolan throws the axe at Kenzie and she dodges it, and Tevgen just like catches it casually.
Yeah, that was fantastic.
That was a really cool moment. I thought the whole Kenzie arc in this entire episode was really interesting. Seeing her so bloodthirsty and like such a clear, like they've done a really good job on antagonists this season,
right?
And like between Kenzie and General, what was his name?
Talk.
Rom Talk. Like the antagonists this season have been fantastic.
Yeah, they really have been, and they've just been really good, vibrant characters that have been.
Yeah. Especially since like Kenzie wasn't really in the show. Like she left the show basically for a while,
for like 4 episodes,
and then like came back with a vengeance, which was really cool. I think her and like having Doc, since we like Doc Yule so much as a character, and it's so painful to see Doc serving this evil woman and like having no control over it. Like the cool part about Doc is how obstinate she is, and she can't even be that now because she's mind controlled.
Yeah, she's still got a couple good lines in there though that I just love.
Yeah,
I really do. I love that character so much. And the other thing too that I thought was, speaking of forgiving, like Tevgen was, Amanda was quite forgiving to
Berlin. Yeah,
I was like, okay. She's like, I missed you. I'm like, okay, everything's forgotten.
Well, I think it was like a necessity thing where it was like when Berlin's like, by the way, Nolan never made it to Brazil. The VC were attacked by the OMEC, like that kind of thing, and then she like goes and gets like Nolan's stuff to set on fire and like make it look like he died in the attack, like that kind of thing. I think it was like a necessity thing where it's like, I want to yell at you, but I don't have time.
I don't have time and I don't have the energy. We have to go get this done.
Yeah.
I miss you. Let's move on. We'll talk about this later, young lady.
Yeah. And like the fact that Berlin's there and she's just like, I'm here to help. Right. That's all I'm here to do.
She's ready to jump back in.
Yeah. I think that's important.
She did.
Yeah. And then we see a Tevgen flashback, a Tevgen Kenzie flashback. We see them on the spaceship. We opened with the song Rockin' Robin.
Yeah, for a reason.
Because that's the thing that it's 1974.
1978.
1978, and they're looking for the place that the Votans ran to, and they pick up Rockin' Robin on the radio frequency in deep space. Yeah,
which I was wondering too, because even though it was 1978, I was thinking, okay, well maybe by the time they got the radio waves, it could have been from the 50s, 60s. You know? So that was kind of interesting too that they put that in there. But it was a really another fun moment that they had there, having that song play.
We got to see the weird handshake.
Yeah.
And also the weird father-daughter OMEC passion kiss
again. Yeah, another like creepy, little too close for comfort kind of kiss. But I loved it. Again, it was a really fun way to wrap up the episode.
Yeah.
And that's where I kind of felt like I learned a little bit more about Tevgen throughout at the end, where I started to feel like, okay, it helped me a little bit with the issues, like I said earlier, that I had with him coming around too quick.
Yeah. I still think they turned him around too quick. I don't think they really showed or deserved it.
But I at least felt like I had a little bit more, because he still had to be sort of that leader there and the one that's...
And then Kenzie eats Tevgen's heart.
Yes. And again, that was creepy too, because she had that whole line too where she was... How did she say it was? she cuts him up, which was weird too. I was like, ugh. God, I forget what it is. She's like, your strength. Oh yeah, your strength will become my own. Your strength will become my own.
Well, I
and
think
she like eats the heart.
I think that's a narrative way of saying like now she is as strong as a full-grown Olmec. Like now we can't just shoot her and she'll die. Like it's gonna take a lot to kill her.
Absolutely. Like we saw that she's kind of taking over in that power.
Yeah, and then she goes back to the ship. And wakes him up.
Wakes up the.
And here's the thing, like we don't know if the Olmec, like she could just, she did a lot of lying in this episode, like saying, like manipulating people and saying like, you know, like telling Nolan that Orisa was part of her plan, and like telling Orisa that Tevgen was part of the attack on the VC. And so, like, she's probably going to wake them up and be like, the humans killed Tevgen.
Exactly. That's
and
exactly
like,
what I was thinking.
yeah.
Like, we have to go
We have to go,
them
yeah.
and make this our own place now.
Yeah. And so, like, I mean, it's going to be difficult to reason with all of them with a bloodthirsty Olmec army.
It's just freshly awakened and extra hungry.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's funny. I thought the exact same thing when I watched that part. I was thinking, okay, she's going to set it up so that they feel they have a reason to go out and attack, and they're extra hungry.
Yeah.
You know how you are after you wake up? I mean, just think after you wake up after however long they've been there, they're like extra hungry.
Yeah, they're super hungry.
They're ravenous. They're ready.
There aren't enough pancakes.
There are not.
Or grilled cheese sandwiches.
No, I mean, there's not enough at IHOP there for them to be able to go and get their fill of pancakes. They will run out.
IHOP, a place where you might hear the song Rockin' Robin.
Right.
Should we get into predictions?
Yes,
Did we get everything?
We shall.
All right.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
It's so spooky every
Now
time.
we're coming up to the penultimate episode, and I'm trying to think of like how they're gonna. They've obviously now set it up that the final battle of the season here is between them and the OMAC. But now I'm wondering, you know, with the VC, on the back burner there from everything that Nolan has done, it's kind of in a way of setup of what you had said earlier. But now we've taken Tevgen out of the equation.
Yeah.
Of the fact that both sides are going to be attacking Defiance.
Yeah.
You know, between the OMAC and now the VC.
Well, I'm going to go one further and say that I think Berlin, her turnaround and coming back is not as innocent as it seems. Right. I think Berlin might be like a forward scout for the Earth Republic.
Well, that's what I was thinking. She has a reason there. Something's happened. Why she's been deployed without Conrad, and what's going on with that. And yeah, because it seemed a little too...
So I think it might be like a battle of four armies, basically, with Defiance kind of caught in the middle. Yeah.
But maybe there'll be the way for the Tars to redeem themselves here through this fully and completely.
Well, I definitely think that Daytak is going to use his God Hand and like break out of his chains and stuff like that and get free, and maybe lead the prisoners to safety, which will help clear his family's name, is that he's helped all of these people get back safely. I think I also think that Doc, we see in the preview she's got a gun and she's shooting someone. I think maybe Doc kills a main character.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you, is do you think any more main characters are going to die between these next two episodes? Because I do, but I'm wondering which ones they will actually be.
I think definitely a main character. I think Berlin can die.
I think Berlin can definitely die. Yes.
Just because they took her away already,
right.
so
And
it was
I don't want to say she's disposable as a character, but in a way she is.
Like it's just a redemption.
It's like
it
like
would
a
redeem
Tommy
her.
character from last season. There's a way for that type of character to be able to go.
Maybe even like Luke can die.
Yeah.
Or Alak. Like if the baby dies, like that gives Stama and Daytak some really interesting kind of future motivation.
It does.
Yeah.
And it gives Alak a way to have a different trajectory as well.
Yeah.
Without a baby. Yeah, I think I don't know. I don't see any of the either one of the Tars besides Alak potentially dying, but I feel like if you get any more into that inner circle, then it's like then you're completely
you're messing with the system,
that's
man.
Right. You're going too far.
Yeah.
You're either walking away from the series, or you're
messing with it.
You can't. Yeah. So I don't see any of that, but I do think there are going to be some, as we've seen throughout this entire
major deaths
season. Yes. Really,
Kenzie dies.
Yes.
Yeah.
She has to, because we just
She's
got to feel like
bloodthirsty.
yes, we need to see that there's a resolution with that, and that she doesn't get away with what she's done. So we want to see that resolved as well, for sure.
Yeah.
We definitely, but I can't have my Doc Yule or anyone else.
Yeah, if Doc dies, I'm gonna be upset.
I can't have that.
Yeah.
Just can't.
Although I don't, maybe Doc does die because she can't live with herself with what she's. I mean, she is already a war criminal.
Right.
So like this on top of that, yeah.
But it's going to be interesting how she can get her name cleared if she is in fact killing a main character here, and then also Nolan being able to get his name cleared as well, and then being able to resolve. So there's a lot of things that have to be resolved in the next 2 episodes.
Yeah, they got a lot of resolving to do.
So we'll see how they resolve it.
All right.
In the future.
Yeah.
Well, until then, where can they find you?
You can find me at JessKlein1. That's JessKlein, the number 1. And then on Tuesdays at 1 o'clock, you can find me at the Video Game Vault on YouTube.
Awesome, and you can find me on Twitter at SMan80. That's SMAN80, and again, you can continue the conversation on Twitter with hashtag ABTVDefiance. Definitely subscribe on YouTube and iCloud and iTunes. Rate us and comment. And until then,
see you next week.
Next week, everyone.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.